Knicks trade proposal sends promising young guard to the Sacramento Kings. The New York Knicks are heading into the 2025-26 NBA season with as much momentum as they've had in nearly a quarter century. After reaching the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since 2000, the team has solidified its place as a legitimate contender. Jalen Brunson has emerged as a bona fide superstar, Julius Randle continues to be a reliable force, and the Knicks supporting cast, loaded with versatile defenders and opportunistic shooters, has proven to be one of the deepest in the league. Yet, as is the case with most contending teams, the Knicks front office isn't standing pat. While the majority of the roster that carried them to the doorstep of the NBA Finals will be returning, there is still speculation around potential tweaks, particularly when it comes to balancing out the guard rotation. One of the more intriguing proposals comes from Bleacher Report's Zach Buckley, who recently floated the idea of the Knicks trading backup guard Miles McBride to the Sacramento Kings. In the hypothetical deal, McBride would head west in exchange for Con Ellis and a 2026 first-round pick. Why McBride could be the Knicks trade chip. Miles Juice McBride has carved out a strong role in New York despite starting his career as more of a developmental project. Known for his defensive intensity, tough on-ball pressure, and improving perimeter shot, McBride has quietly become one of the league's most reliable reserve guards. Last season, McBride averaged 9.5 points per game, shooting 37% from beyond the arc while guarding some of the NBA's toughest backcourt matchups. His ability to enter the game and provide energy on both ends has made him a fan favorite at Madison Square Garden. However, as Buckley points out, the Knicks may find themselves in a situation where they need to consolidate or reposition their assets. With Brunson logging heavy minutes as the lead guard, and veterans like Donte DiVincenzo and Josh Hart also capable of handling playmaking duties in spurts, New York's backcourt is relatively crowded. Trading McBride isn't something the Knicks would take lightly. He's one of Tom Thibodeau's favorite types of players, defensive-minded, tough, and unselfish. But for a team with championship aspirations, every roster decision comes down to fit and long-term flexibility. What Con Ellis would bring to New York on the other side of the deal is Con Ellis, a 6'3" guard who has quietly risen in Sacramento as a key 3-and-D contributor. Last season, Ellis averaged 8.3 points per game while shooting an impressive 43% from three-point range. While he may not provide the same level of playmaking that McBride does, Ellis offers something the Knicks could value highly: reliable perimeter shooting and defensive versatility. At his size and with his wingspan, Ellis can guard multiple positions on the perimeter while spacing the floor for Brunson to operate. An added wrinkle is Ellis' familiarity with Knicks head coach Mike Brown, who, during his Sacramento tenure, helped Ellis develop into the rotation player he is today. That connection could make the transition smoother, and it's easy to see why New York might view Ellis as a more seamless fit next to Brunson. As Buckley noted, he doesn't provide the same playmaking, but he's more consistent from three and bigger and more versatile on defense. It'd be easier to get him on the floor with Jalen Brunson, and it's hard to think of a more helpful skill than supporting the club's best player. The draft pick factor. Perhaps the most intriguing part of this proposed deal is the inclusion of a 2026 first-round pick. For the Knicks, who are already stacked with talent and aiming for contention in the present, adding another future draft asset could help in two ways. One, trade flexibility. A first-round pick can be used down the road in a bigger deal, perhaps if a star player becomes available on the market. 2. Roster sustainability. Having draft capital allows a contender to keep replenishing the roster with cheap, young players as contracts become more expensive for the core. From Sacramento's perspective, giving up a future pick might be a tough pill to swallow. However, if the Kings believe McBride could become a cornerstone piece of their second unit, or even a potential starting option alongside De'Aaron Fox, then sacrificing a future pick for present value could make sense. How McBride fits in Sacramento. The Sacramento Kings, much like the Knicks, are a team trying to build on recent momentum. After snapping their 16-year playoff drought in 2023, the Kings have embraced a new identity built around De'Aaron Fox's speed and Domantas Sabonis' playmaking in the front court. Shooting, depth, and defense are the main areas Sacramento continues to tinker with as they aim to climb the Western Conference ladder. Adding McBride would give the Kings another ball handler who can relieve Fox, especially in defensive matchups where Fox's offensive load is already heavy. McBride's defensive grit also fits the Kings' need for tougher perimeter defenders, something that has been an Achilles heel for them in the playoffs. For a team like Sacramento, McBride represents more than just a bench piece. He could potentially slot into closing lineups when defense becomes paramount. Knicks dilemma: stability versus upgrades. The heart of the question for New York is whether trading McBride is worth the gamble. On one hand, Ellis provides the shooting and versatility that might make the offense flow more naturally around Brunson. On the other, McBride has already proven himself within Thibodeau's demanding system and is battle-tested in the Eastern Conference playoff wars. Championship contenders often face this balancing act. Do you stick with the players who've gotten you this far, or do you roll the dice on small upgrades that could pay off in a big way down the line? Final thoughts: both McBride and Ellis represent the kind of hard-nosed, underrated role players that winning teams rely on. McBride is more of a bulldog defender and secondary creator, while Ellis is a knockdown shooter with defensive versatility. For the Knicks, the added bonus of a 2026 first-round pick makes this trade at least worth considering, even if it means parting with a player beloved by the fan base and trusted by the coach. For Sacramento, acquiring McBride would address their need for backcourt toughness and give them a reliable option to support Aaron Fox. At the end of the day, this isn't a blockbuster trade proposal, but it's the type of move that could have ripple effects in a playoff series down the line. Whether the Knicks value McBride's familiarity over Ellis' skill set will ultimately determine if this deal is more than just speculation.